Fiji Lee.
Hello? Yeah. Lovely. Now, Maria, I'm not quite sure where you are, but that picture's 12 years old, so if you could draw that rather than this one, I'd be ever so grateful. Or even make one up. It's lovely to be at the Bayard Bar. I've come a couple of times already, just to sort of get the feel of everything. And I loved the last two that I've been to. I must say, I don't know, did any of you come where the gentleman showed you how to do the cryptic crosswords?
Yes.
Right, well, I did feel that the cryptic crossword enthusiasts were a little bit snooty. And in actual fact, I do think people who do cryptic crosswords, and I don't care if there's loads of them in the audience, I do think there is a difficulty. You know, poor people like me who can do an extra fiendish Sudoku, just like that, or a vocabulary crossword, you know, we sink down there, because they'll come up to you and they'll say, do you do the cryptic? And of course you have to say, no, I don't understand the cryptic. However, having seen the cryptic man, I feel at least I know now that there's a way of doing it. So, right, I've wasted 2 of my minutes, but in the audience I've got 3 people there, and the 2 each side of the man are my timekeepers, and they're going to do a cut the throat, that's it, gesture, and I can tell if my brother falls asleep, I've definitely gone on too long. So, when Tim asked me to talk about something I felt passionately about, I glibly replied that I was passionate about so many things I couldn't think of what I wanted to talk about. But then when I thought about it, I found I wasn't passionate about anything very much. Which was a great disappointment at my age, because I feel like I should have had some passion at some point. But no, I haven't. So I sat myself down for 2 or 3 days, which isn't unusual actually in my house. And I thought I had a good think, and about 6:30 a.m. one morning, I was thinking about my late mother, who I never got on very well with, nor she with me. And I could remember being about 4 years old, and she was talking to a neighbour across the fence, and suddenly she turned and looked at me, and then said to the neighbour, "Watch out, her ears are flapping." And that was about me. And, you know, my ears were flapping, and my ears do flap. And in actual fact, you know, they were supposed to be pinned when I was 10, but that would never happen. But I'm always listening in to other people. Another thing she used to say was, I forgot what she used to say. I feel so passionate about this, it obviously made a huge impression. Oh my God, children should be seen and not heard, she used to say. When, at the age of 5, I used to try to interrupt conversations she was having with other adults because I thought I knew better than she did. So I wasn't an easy child to get on with. So that made me think, and as Tim mentioned, I'm a writer, and really writing has been my passion, but I'm not going to talk about the actual writing. I'm going to talk about how this came to be. And as a child, I was quite withdrawn, and I did listen in to everybody that I could do. Whenever I could be left on my own, well, not on my own as a child in a room, then I would listen in to the adults. And call it eavesdropping, because that's not no, let's not call it eavesdropping, because that doesn't sound very nice. But I would listen in to people, and then later on, I got the hang of conversations, not for myself, but by the time I was about 40, I could actually do a conversation with somebody. I'm still not brilliant, but I can manage it sometimes with people I'm very secure with. And being as I am, there's only about 2 of them. I think one of them's gone to sleep. I hope I get to the point here, but I don't think I will. Anyway, so what I'm going to share with you today, whether you like it or not, is some little things that I've written since I've been in Hastings. I've been here 22 years, so I am down from London, but I've been here a long time, and I think I came here before I knew anything about Hastings, except it was a way of getting away from London. So I've always looked out and watched people and written little things, quite apart from books and short stories. I always write little things down, little things I overhear on the bus. So I think it might be quite boring, and I will say this to you, that I've been to a lot of poetry events since I've been in Hastings, and you know when the man or the woman come up, they've got 20 poems to read, and your heart sinks. I mean, if there's any poets in the audience that has done that, well, you shouldn't, really. Just pay attention. So your heart sinks, and the audience, we try to clap, and then we start to get disheartened, and we get, you know, it's, in the end we're banging our knees, which nobody can hear anyway. So please don't bother to clap in between these, because they're not poems, they're just little bits and pieces. And I'm just going to start with the very first set. When I first came to Hastings, I was about 50, and I joined a yoga club on the West Hill. So these are all in and around Hastings. So I'll just read this little bit out. Eventually. Up on the West Hill, yoga tutor lights candles, puts on tape of someone moaning meaningfully. Tutor says, "Can you feel the white light seeping through your bodies into your chakras?" "Yes," we say, in spiritually aware voices. "We can feel the white light." Whisper to my yoga buddy, "Can you really feel the white light?" She says, "I think it's the same as pins and needles." Tutor instructs us to get in touch with our bodies. Brian, red-haired man with beard, shouts out, "Whose body can I get in touch with?" Yoga buddy laughs, even though Brian says the same thing every week. Amazingly, she finds Brian attractive. I tell her, "But he looks like Henry VIII. She says, "I wouldn't have said no to Henry VIII. I said, "You wouldn't have got a chance to." Some weeks later, yoga buddy having her carpet moth infestation sprayed, so not at yoga. Brian lays his mat down next to mine. We are supposed to be relaxing our faces. Tutor has told us that if we keep this up for the next few decades, our heads will resemble luminous beacons. That was a few decades ago. Brian says in a low voice, "You're a good bit older than me." "Really?" I say. "I expect you're a bit of a live wire," he says. "I'm not a live wire." "Fancy a drink after class?" I said, "I'm a lesbian." He says, "I like lesbians." I said, "You wouldn't like this one." I moved my mat away. bag out with me, but I suppose I don't even trust my brother and my oldest friend. I want to leave it next to them. They could riffle through my purse. Anyway, to set the scene a little, were I to die outside my home, my DNA could be found in the following places on Queen's Road: Morrison Supermarket, Marks and Spencer's, and the 28 bus stop outside Pet Express. So I'm going to try and do things, read out things that I've been either overheard at these relevant places, or I've been part of, and a little bit also about friends that I've made. Well, I haven't actually made them. They were friends that came after me when I got here. You just can't get rid of them, so-and-so. So, when I first moved down, I moved next door to a gentleman called Les, and he was in his 70s at the time. He's in his 90s now, and he's not here tonight because I haven't asked him, because I'm going to read things out with him in it. He's actually in one of the stories I wrote as a stalker, and he's really unpleasant in it. In actual fact, he tried to follow me on Facebook, but I blocked him. I've only known him 20 years. He's got to do better than that. Anyway, this is in Morrison Supermarket at the newspaper stand. In conversation with my friend Les, an unknown Irish woman. Les, perusing a copy of the Daily Mail. Looks like they may have found Lord Lucan. He must be at least 100. The newspaper says he's 85, I said. Irish woman. It's a crying shame. Les and I look bewildered. Is it? Irish woman. All the older generation are just dying away. Now, why is that? Because they're old? I asked. Irish woman. I loved him in just a minute. Lord Lucan? Such a lovely man, just dying like that. Les says, she means Nicholas Parsons. You see it on the Daily Express. He was 96. The Irish woman says, no age at all, smiles at Les. I'm 86. Les counters with I'm 88 in a fortnight. I don't counter. We leave the Irish woman still mourning Nicholas Parsons and head for the exit. That's what happens when you talk to strangers, Les says. What happens, I asked. You meet up with a chatterbox. Now where did I leave the car? I'll get rid of that laughter soon, don't worry. Well, this one. This is about my window cleaner. Now, do you all have window cleaners, or do you do your own? You do your own. Well, this is my only claim to fame, is that I have a window cleaner. Again, I've had him for 20 years, and I can't bear him. Which is awful, because sometimes I hide when he comes. He clatters his ladders and he's a giveaway. Anyway, in the pandemic, feels so much more energised having had altercation with window cleaner. He told me that due to COVID lockdown and expected run on the Bank of England, any money would be worthless by August. I said, what do you suggest I use then? He scratched his head beneath his jolly Santa Claus hat, and we were in the middle of March at the time. Buy gold, he said. My temper shot from non-existent to white hot. I don't imagine Morrison's will accept gold for my groceries. Now let me see, he says, what about, stop right now. Don't you think people have enough to worry about at the moment without you spreading rumours that our money will be worthless come spring? Not a rumour. He grins at me. I hate him. More a tip-off. Paying him, I forced myself to gently close the door. I've had the same window cleaner for 20 years. I've never liked him, but somehow I feel guilty about not liking him. And so we go on. So that is what I do, really. I wander about the town, I do get up to St Leonard's sometimes. I meet a friend on the seafront or at Casa. But particularly with the pandemic, I suppose I've done less. And so what is my passion? My passion, if it's anything, it is talking to strangers. I feel much more comfortable with strangers because they know nothing about me, and then I can find out a bit about them. So I talk to strangers, I listen to them, and I write about them. And sometimes I use the writing, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just put them into these sort of little things that, you know, I put on social media. And so that's what has kept me going, really, since I was about 6. I couldn't write very well at 6, so I wasn't writing things down, but I was taking stuff in, and I'm sure most of us do. But it only occurred to me, really and truly, when Tim asked me to do this, that this absorption has outlived all the many passions or likes that I've had in my life. You know, I've had silly ones, like, you know, I've kept say blue pottery, I'm now on green pottery, things like that. At that time it seems important. And then it goes. Now there, I just heard a clearing of the throat from my timekeeper then, which possibly means she doesn't like the way this story's going. Pardon? All right, okay. Won't get paid. So this is something that is free, that isn't a hobby. It is my life, really, and people have come and gone, hobbies have come and gone, things that I care about come and go, but listening to people, it's a fantastic thing. I was quite narrow-minded for a long, long time, even as I grew up, because of my background, but the more I've listened, the better I felt, and the more I've understood things that I used to have perhaps a dismissive attitude to. I'm just going to read just this tiny little one here, where I would, years ago, have possibly written something quite nasty, funny but nasty, you know, or critical, or cynical. But winter, waiting for the 28 bus on Queen's Road. There's a drunken man standing outside Pet Express. On a lead he has a white and black terrier, quite an old dog that still retains something of a feisty nature. I notice with approval that both are warmly dressed. The dog wants to investigate a tree. The man wants his dog to get a move on. The dog flexes his back legs and refuses to move unless dragged. I want to step in, as I didn't step in the other cold evening at this same bus stop when a woman ignored her crying baby because she was staring at her phone. Man and dog come to a standstill. Man says, "Oh, come on, Henry," and his voice contains affection. Henry seems to react well to this because he catches up with his owner and together they wander off along the high street. Now, you know, 20, 30 years I might have looked at that and thought, why doesn't he get a job, or why doesn't he stop drinking? But I didn't, and I looked at it with such affection because he and the dog, you could just see that they loved each other. But that didn't mean the dog had given up his right to do what he wanted, and he got the better of the man in the end. So that has been part of it, and I said this was going to go on a bit. So I'm just going to have a swig of drink, and I advise you all to have a swig of drink if you've got one. Could I just say cheers? Cheers! Cheers! Are we having a bit louder and livelier? See, I'm a comedian, really. It's a bit difficult being serious, though. Unless I'm drunk. Tim gave me a card to get a drink with, but I thought he was giving me a business card, so I didn't make use of it till the second break. And then the friends took it. Right, so I'm now going to turn over the page to see what I wrote on that. There is a downside to listening in to people and writing about them, because I'm not reliable. So anything anyone tells me, and I often tell them this, and they still tell me, because I've got something trustworthy about me. That just isn't true, because if they tell me something and it's interesting or juicy or disgraceful enough, I will pass it on. I can't help it. It's impossible. So it's a downside, but if you're thinking of doing the same thing, it might also be an upside, because for free you get all sorts of information. You know, you don't have to look at a newspaper hard, because you get everybody's view and you learn about people. So I always say, if anything you tell me, I will not keep it secret. And I have really, a friend of mine actually got into a fight almost with another woman, because just after I'd broken up, I wrote a sketch on her about how I met her after we'd broken up, and I met her at a lesbian discotheque in Bexhill, home of the lesbian discotheque, and I always think that I haven't caused offence, but sometimes I have caused offence, and I went up to her and they were playing It's Raining Men, and another old favourite, and that's not too old for it not to make me think, oh, I could dance a bit to that. And I went up and I said, do you fancy a dance, Judy? And she started to recite I Will Survive at me. And she did the whole song with, you know, for as long as I know how to live, I know I'll stay alive. You know, I had to put up with that. I just interjected every now and then, but she obviously hated me. Anyway, I did a full sketch about that, and her friends were all in the audience, so that is that. So, right, now let's have a look. Now, can you bear any sad? Oh no, before I do a sad one, I'll have a bit of my altercations in the post office. You know, because I have actually got a very unpleasant temper, which often surprises me, and other people. Okay. Oh, this is quite a nice one. Sitting in the bus shelter this afternoon, and this only happened a few weeks ago, socially distanced from a very elderly and sad-looking man, his friend hailed him. The friend, "You don't look too bright." The man said, "I'm not, haven't recovered from last year's operation." The friend said, "Did they take much out?" The man said, "Not enough." The friend said, "What about your placenta?" The man shrugged and said, "Possibly." So he didn't know what he was talking about. So I seem to have left the post office behind. Now, isn't that annoying of me? I'll find it when I'm on the way home. This morning, in queue to post 5 books, mull over man ahead of me at counter, leaning forward through the aperture to speak to the post office employee and ignoring the sign that said, "Do not lean through the aperture." When another post office employee approached me, "I could show you how to post those at the self-service machine," he said. "I'm quite happy to wait, thank you," I said. "But it's very easy." His manner was affable, so I agreed. Okay. He takes the first of my identical 5 jiffy bags from me. "What is this?" "A book." "Is its value more than £20 or less?" less. How would you like it posted, first or second? First class, please. Registered? No, thank you. He passes the envelope through the mock-up of a letterbox. That will be £1.90, he says. Once we've repeated the Q&A 5 further times, he says with a happy smile, all done. I reply, and maybe I shouldn't have because it wiped away his happy smile. Wouldn't you agree that this process has taken at least 5 times longer than if I'd remained in the queue and waited for someone to serve me at the counter? He paused before saying, but now you've watched me, you'll know how to post them yourself in future. I replied, but you never said I had to watch you, so I didn't. True one as well. Right, I'm going to do a bit of a sombre one. Hold on. Well, obviously, having done these little bits of paper for 20 years, I haven't really sorted out anything very satisfactory with them. No, just shut your eyes slightly and drift off. Oh, have you already? Oh, I'll just do this one, sorry. Just to show that I do go on the internet. Dialogue with determinedly obtuse Twitter person. Twitter person, how are you doing? Me, fine. Twitter person, good. What are you doing at the moment? Me, admin and work, which is the reason I use social media. I don't use Twitter for making friends. Twitter person, you say we can't be friends, right? Me, yes, very few people use Twitter to make friends. Twitter person, only, where are you from? Me, for further info, go into my website. Twitter person, good. You married with kids? So he didn't, just wouldn't stop. Right, this is the first post office one. Standing in the post office queue, just 2 out of 8 windows were open, watching man in shorts unloading at least 20 assorted packages onto the counter, I muse that it is lucky for him I don't carry a small Derringer pistol in my shopping bag. Otherwise, I'd have taken a pot shot at his hairy, muscular calves instead of just muttering, oh, for pity's sake. Turned my attention to woman, the only other woman, who was recounting her life story, and thought, and you'd get the same, sister. I'm trying to find the one that I found very moving. I don't know. But I guess you're going to want it. I might have to just keep on talking about other things. I did want to do one. No? Can you believe that? Yes, possibly you can. Right, this one is quite a nice one. No? No, I'm not going to do that for now because I can't find them. They're still in my bag. Oh, Christ almighty. No, that's other ones. Okay, so that's what I've been trying to say. Let's come over to this man, because he looks a little bit like he's falling asleep here. Are you all right? I thought you must be, my lovely. So you're not going to be writing little notes and standing at the bus stop. Well, I'm sorry about that. But to those who do want to even consider this sort of thing, it is a passion. Once you start writing things down and you start listening to, and probably you do. I mean, I'm making an assumption here that nobody else does it with me, but I usually am quite alone at the bus stop, or certainly with people who aren't willing to sit and listen to me. So that's all I want to say, is that it can be very therapeutic, and I see it that it helps my mental health and my creative health as well. It's going out at least 3 times a week and wandering about, and I don't do it knowingly anymore. I just do it. I can't bear to be indoors. So that's a thing that has lasted me since the age of about 6, when I started listening in and being told not to, and all my relations knew I listened in and they didn't much like it, but I couldn't stop. So that is my passion. So if anybody would like to ask me a question, I'd be happy to answer.
BG Lee has